Amish drunk man jumped off his buggy because the cops were after him and his horse and his buggy, and that horse kept on going. He never did come back and claim the horse and the buggy. He took off running in the woods.
You ready to call us to order, Conrad?
I don't know. I think we should have a disorderly meeting today.
The disorderly?
Yeah, instead of calling the meeting to order, I'll call it the disorder. Well, believe it or not, it's September.
Yeah, time we're all in again.
What about Christmas?
Well, it's getting close.
I've got a Christmas list made up if you all want to look at it. You know, things I think I'd like to have.
We had the Dulcimer group in here practicing this week. A bunch of ladies playing the Dulcimer, and they started on their Christmas music.
Well, you got to start.
Were they from Pittsburgh?
No, they're from here.
I went over to Pittsburgh several
The
years
local
ago.
gals that used to.
And they had about 30 women in there playing Dulcimers. Yeah.
Playing Dulcimer. We
Some
had
festival they had
We
at
had about
Pittsburgh.
5 or 6 of them.
Yeah. There were 30 of them over there.
They were practicing their Christmas stuff.
Yeah, they normally practice over at the Art Center, but I guess they have something going on. Anyway,
you're-
this is the Winnsboro Live Poet Society. It's been going on and on for a long time, happy to say. Just a few announcements of stuff going on at the Center for the Arts. Tomorrow night, I know you guys are busy tomorrow night, but Celtic Woman will be at the Winnsboro Center for the Arts. A wonderful Celtic fiddle player.
They'll be singing those Celtic ladies.
Yeah, well, this is one woman.
Oh.
She may have,
Celtic
she
ladies.
may have side men with her, I don't know. Last name is Nesbitt, I can't pronounce her first name, I don't have it written down. But she'll be at Winnsboro Center for the Arts. I'm sure there's still tickets available.
You said you think they're sold out?
No, I think they're probably still tickets.
Really? How much are they?
I don't know, I haven't seen Jim in weeks, so I don't know. The other
Was
stuff.
there installment plan on them?
Yeah, well, very quickly because the concert's tomorrow night, so you got to pay it off quickly because you can't see it unless you pay it off.
Let's talk to Doc, he's my banker.
Then we go into October. October, of course, is Autumn Trails Month, so every weekend there'll be something. I don't have their schedule. There you go. For years, if you don't advertise in their little brochure, you don't get copies of it. You got to go find them yourself. I haven't done that yet. But they're out.
I got one, I think.
They're out and about. So check, the back has them and several businesses around town. You can go over to the Autumn Trails office, they'll probably get one. But anyway, at the Center for the Arts on the 5th of October, a trio of gals called Nobody's Girl will be at the Winnsboro Center for the Arts. And there's a gal named Rebecca Lope, who I'm not familiar with. Grace Pettis, I know about. I've not heard her perform, but I know her dad. Her dad's a wonderful singer-songwriter. I've seen and recorded him 2 or 3 times. And Betty Sue, who's out of Austin, and she's been in Winnsboro before. She's also a good singer-songwriter. That's on the 5th. On the 12th, at the Center for the Arts, something called a type-in will occur, and there'll be typing competitions on old-fashioned typewriters, you know, the big bulky Underwoods with the big keys, you know, that you have to really whack to make strike the paper.
Underwood and Royal, that's 2 of the oldest ones I know about.
Smith and Corona, before they got together, became Smith Corona.
In my high school.
On the next day, the 13th, which is Sunday afternoon, the Mercury Chamber Orchestra, the second concert of the chamber of the classical music series at the Center for the Arts will occur. And
Classic or classical?
Classical. And then the 18th and 19th is the Cowboy Poetry, which Joe Dan is a part of, and I'm supposed to be part of it. Well, I've never written a cowboy poem in my life, so I don't know.
Doc is also a part of it.
And Doc is going to be part of it. So I don't know whether I'll participate or not. I was hoping to get some of the other cowboy poets to read, but
Cowboy for a day, Conrad. You can be cowboy for a day.
well, but I got to write something.
Oh,
I mean,
Big
I can-
Jim might be
I can
there.
read this guy. Nobody knows who this guy is. I looked him up on Google. I can't find a word about him.
I find a hat.
You even got a cowboy hat?
I used to a long time ago. I had a cowboy hat, but I don't anymore. I don't have boots or anything. Anyway,
We noticed.
I had boots once, but my feet, my legs and feet didn't work well on me. I was, for a while, as a youngster, I was Hopalong Cassidy, and I have pictures of myself in the Hopalong Cassidy outfit.
The hat and all?
Hat, the six gun, the boots, the shirt, everything.
East Coast Cowboy.
Yep. And I'm gonna still write a poem called Cowboy from Brooklyn, but I haven't written it yet.
Well, that's got a catchy title. Somebody want to read that.
Well, actually, there was a movie called that. It starred Dick Powell and some unknown guy named Ronald Reagan.
What's the name of the movie?
A movie.
What is the name of the movie?
A Cowboy from Brooklyn.
Yeah, I think I've actually seen that.
I've never seen it, but Ronald Reagan had a small part in it.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Dick Powell, I think, was the star.
Catch it on TCM.
Maybe.
I didn't like Reagan way back then. He was a liberal, you know. he learned, he changed over the years.
So, you ready?
Well, this book is called 101 Famous Poems, and it was published.
It looks ancient.
101 famous poems, and there's no date on it, but it's old.
Older than you?
Older than me, which means it's older than you.
But maybe not older than Gauguin, huh?
Maybe not, but it could be.
In a class by myself.
Anyway,
You're top of the class, so. You're ahead of the class, you're the top.
that's right, you're at the head of the table. Which makes you the head of the class. Anyway, I thought I'd read a couple of famous poems here. If I can find one here. How many of you remember this guy named Alfred Tennyson? Remember him?
I've heard of him. Yeah.
You've heard of him? He wrote something called The Charge of the Light Brigade.
Yeah.
Tennyson was born in 1809, died in 1892, just in case you're interested.
Well, I am. So Ron Lawson would not be interested, as he's told me many times. I don't care about that stuff. I like to introduce my song and say who wrote it, whether it made #1 or not. And then Ron said, "Who cares?" I said, "I do."
All right, this is The Charge of the Light Brigade by Alfred Tennyson. Half a league, half a league, half a league onward, all in the valley of death rode the 600. Forward, the Light Brigade, charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Forward, the Light Brigade, was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldiers knew someone had blundered. Theirs not to make reply, theirs not to reason why. Theirs but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Cannons to the right of them, cannons to the left of them, cannon in front of them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell, boldly they rode and well, into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell rode the 600. Flashed all their sabers bare, flashed as they turned in air, sabering the gunners there, charging an army, while all the world wondered, plunged in the battery smoke. Right through the line they broke, Cossack and Russian, reeled from the saber stroke, shattered and sundered. Then they rode back, but not the 600. Cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon behind them volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell, while horse and hero fell. They that had fought so well came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell, all that was left of them, left of 600. When can their glory fade? Oh, what wild charge they made. All the world wondered, honor the charge they made, honor the Light Brigade, noble 600. Alfred Lord Tennyson.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Yep. I think I had to read that in high school.
I did too.
Charge of the Light Brigade. How did it get that title?
You didn't figure that out? You couldn't figure that out by yourself?
No. I was thinking about lights, you know.
Well,
What it means is it's not heavyweight
Ed
craft.
Dollar, he
It
knows.
was probably, they were probably light armor rather than heavy, carrying heavy. They were probably really light armor with light weapons and could travel fast, I would imagine.
This is a guy named Walt Whitman. You may have heard of him. He was born in 1819, died in 1892. I have his exact date, but no one will remember.
It was not a close personal friend, but I've heard of him.
No. We went way back to that, way. This is called "Oh Captain, My Captain." You've probably heard this. "Oh Captain, my Captain, our fearful trip is done. The ship has weathered every rack. The prize we sought is won. The port is near. The bells I hear. The people all exulting. While follow eyes the steady keel. The vessel grim and daring. Oh heart, heart, heart. Oh, the bleeding drops of red, where on the deck my captain lies, fallen cold and dead. Oh, Captain, my Captain, rise up and hear the bells. Rise up, for you the flag is flung, for you the bugle trills, for you bouquets and ribboned wreaths, for you the shores are crowding, for you they call the swaying mass, their eager faces turning. Here, Captain, dear Father, this arm beneath your head, it is some dream that on the deck you've fallen cold and dead. My captain does not answer, his lips are pale and still. My father does not feel my arm, he has no pulse or will. The ship is anchored safe and sound, the voyage closed and done. From fearful trip the victor ship comes in with object won. Exalt, O shores, and ring, O bells, but I, with mournful tread, walk the deck my captain lies, fallen cold and dead. Okay, we're going to leave Little Boy Blue alone here. I don't want to read the big long ones here, but they're good poems. Carl Sandburg, you've heard of Carl. When this book was written, he was born in 1872. He was still alive, okay? That's how old this book is, okay? This is called Grass.
All right.
Grass? I thought you said
Willie
grass.
Nelson poem.
Willie Nelson poem. Pile the bodies high at Austerlitz and Waterloo. Shovel them under and let me work. I am the grass, I cover all. And pile them high at Gettysburg, and pile them high at Ypres and Verdun. Shovel them under and let me work. 2 years, 10 years, and passengers ask the conductor, what place is this? Where are we now? I am the grass, let me work. Calls it. And one more out of here, and then I'll read a cowboy poem. This is a guy I'm not familiar with. Maltby Davenport Babcock was his name. He was born in 1858. He died in 1901, also before my time, also before Dan Codan's time. I don't think anyone in this town has been around that long. It's called Be Strong. Be strong. We are not here to play, to dream, to drift. We have hard work to do and loads to lift. Shun not the struggle. Face it, 'tis God's gift. Be strong. Say not the days are evil, who's to blame? And fold the hands and acquiescence, oh shame. Stand up, speak out, and bravely in God's name. Be strong. It matters not how deep entrenched the wrong, how hard the battle goes, the day how long. Faint not, fight on, tomorrow comes the song. That's Be Strong by Maltby Davenport Babcock. Cute little book. There's a lot of great stuff in here. Read the Children's Hour, which I'm going to read. All right, I'm gonna read one cowboy poem here. This is what is it called? What is it called? This is Frank Mackey, his name is, Frank Mackey, M-A-C-K-I-E. The book was published in Dallas. He lived in Houston. He dedicated this to whoever bought it in August of 1942. The copyright is 1937. Like I said, I looked him up on Google, couldn't find anything about him.
That was in your time frame though, wasn't it?
No, a little before. Well, actually, yeah. This book was purchased by somebody the year before I was born. So, a year and a half before I was born, somebody bought this.
And it's still around.
Yeah, and the book is still around. I have a copy of it. And I got it for sale for only a mere $10,000. I can't find it any place. I don't even know if I have a price. I don't even think I have a price on it.
Could a man make monthly payments on that?
You can make monthly payments on this, but you can't get it until you pay it all off. I have a layaway. I have layaway on this book.
If I can get a guarantee that I'd still be alive, I'd take you up.
This is called My Saddle. And this guy writes in the vernacular of the cowboys, so if I stumbled over some words, I apologize for that. It hangs upon the peg behind the door. Doc says that I can't ride the range no more. I lay there on my bed where I can see that leather thing that was a part of me. It's been my pillow when the ground was damp. It's been with me at many a roundup camp. One time I used it at the rodeo. Them gold spurs there is what I have to show. Each night some jasper comes up to my shack since I've been laid up with this broken back. Sometimes when I'm alone, a tear that burns, I find I know them boys is taking turns. Each cooks a meal and gives me lots of talk. The world must know that I can never walk. Me and my horse, we headed for a stray. A gopher hole got in my pony's way. Each fellow stays the night, leaves with the dawn. Each cooks 2 meals for just 6 feet of brawn. That lies so still and helpless on this bed. Ain't working, so 2 meals is all I'm fed. And that's enough for one who has to lie just looking at them clouds and changing sky. My bed is by the window. I can see the range and hills that now ain't meant for me. My saddle hangs where I can see it too. For once you rode that range, that's part of you. Or my saddle. And last but certainly not least, The Sweet Young Thing, this is called, again by Frank Mackey. I ain't got no education, and all the folks of in this nation, I'm as ignorant as a darned old Injun squaw. I ain't hot on fancy dancing, but when it comes to ranching, I know just what the old man hired me for. Well, one summer, can you feature? Our guest was a school teacher who come out to the ranch to stay till spring. Her name, we couldn't say it. We was all afraid to say it, so we called her to ourselves the Sweet Young Thing. Seems that by her caterwauling and all her fancy squalling, she hoped to make the stage where lights is bright. In wash basins we'd be paddling when this dame would start a saddling. Them notes of hern, she sure could do it right. She'd talk funny like she'd sing, and I'll say this sweet young thing could ask us all more questions in a day than any Eastern dude. We tried not to be rude, but we got stumped to know just what to say. She could ask the darndest things. Why a magpie never sings? Did we mean a crick was drunk when it was full? Could a path now be a trail? Why we grab steers by the tail? What's the difference between a steer and cow and bull? She once seen 3,000 head when the hay, when with hay them steers were fed. And such ignorance as hers no law allows. This top question none can beat. She had turned to me so sweet and asked, "Do you men milk all them cows?"
That's pretty good, I like that one.
Who's next?
Who's next?
Well, I was looking for some good poetry like Conrad found. But I found this in a magazine, and
He's got an advantage, he's got a bookstore.
you got books.
He's got a whole bookstore.
I was going to say that I'm Ken, and I'm trying to be the best Ken I've ever been. So I was looking through this magazine, and I found this little poem I really liked. It's real short, but it wasn't accredited to anybody. Now, the page was torn, so it might have been torn off, but I suspect, after reading this, this was probably written by that Helen Rice woman. That's what I think. It's what it sounds like. Anyway, here it says, "Life is a garden."
Maybe Harvey Anonymous wrote
That may be. He wrote a lot of them. You know.
it. He did.
Life is a garden, and good friends are the flowers, and time spent together is life's happiest hours. And friendship, like flowers, bloom ever more fair when carefully tended by dear friends who care. Wow, that's kind of neat. Don't that sound like something Miss Rice would do?
Yeah.
I gave her credit for it. I don't know if the magazine didn't. Here's one from a guy that I really like to hear. A lot of his stuff. Robert Frost. I think the first time I read here, I had a Robert Frost poem. This is called "A Late Walk," a poem by Robert Frost. When I go up through the mowing field, the headless aftermath, smooth laid like thatch with a heavy dew, half closes the garden path. And when I come to the garden ground, beware of sober birds, up from the tingle of weathered weeds, it's sadder than any words. A tree beside me, the wall stands bare, but a leaf that lingered brown, disturbed, I doubt not, but my thought comes softly rattling down. I end not far my going forth, picking the faded blue of the last remaining aster flower to carry again to you. That's Robert Frost. You know. It's kind of
Yeah, I heard
touching. And then this is a guy that Joe Dan likes, James Metcalf. I got a book,
Yeah.
Conrad
You
here.
got a
So
book from me.
Yeah. It's probably, I have a book of his poems, probably the same one.
the title of it is "Always for You." You are the nobler part of me in everything I do, because each day I try to live a better life for you, because your faith inspires me to reach a greater goal and tells me how to overcome the struggles in my soul. You walk with me from dawn to dusk with courage, calm, and pride. And in the purple shadows, you're always by my side. There is no hill too steep for me, nor any road too long, because you make each moment bright and every day a song. No matter what the weather or wherever I may go, you are the angel of my dreams, because I care for you so. Isn't that sweet? Isn't that sweet? Anyway, I thought those, they kind of spoke to me, and when I'm looking for something to read, I just go through these, where I got these at, and if it speaks to me, I said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to read this. That was my offering for today. Thank you for listening.
I like the one about the garden, talk about the flowers.
That's on my garden.
I saw a sign down there that said "Weeds for sale."
Of course, we moved from California down here in '61, and that gave me an opportunity to learn about gardening and all this that, you know, city boy didn't get to reap at the time.
They don't have gardens in California?
Well, not in downtown LA area.
Oh, down there.
Anyway, my grandmother told my dad, you know, during the wintertime, there's going to be weeks that you can't get out of the house. So you know, he bought a 100-pound bag of pinto beans and put them in a big trash can to keep rats out of them. And he bought a big freezer and put bread and all that. But the biggest thing was they canned a lot of vegetables and fruits and all that to get through the winter. Okay, didn't want to get stuck. The proverbial mason jar. So anyway, the other day Jill brought me a stack of these, the good old days. Okay, and I had a lot of interesting articles in there, but had one about the mason jar. So I haven't got through all of them yet, but I like the poem about the mason jar because it kind of stood out. So I'm going to try to read this the best I can. I think I can read it.
Need some light, I'll turn the light on.
Yeah, turn the light on.
Hey, Don.
Your lessons,
Okay.
Might need 'em.
Just reading glasses.
I might need them.
It'll make the words.
Oh,
a
I
little
can see now. It was just kind of dark. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's the Mason Jar, and it's by Letta Hardy. Y'all know her.
I knew Paul.
Their home was darkness there within the mighty cave where winter's board of food was laid. Hoard, excuse me. By lantern light, which I needed just a while ago, okay, they glistened with tomatoes packed in scarlet juice, huge dill pickles, fat with goosebumps, and seedy flowers. Green string beans and yellow too stood side by side with emerald hue of early peas and sunny grains of corn. Sauerkraut, translucent strands pressed tight in foamy brine. And then the sweets, that's the one I like to get into. Tart cherries, seamed for a pie, pear honey ground to pow, a biscuit high, apple soft, minced meat with meat, peaches dotted all about with dark pulled bits of clove, crab apples with tiny scents and syrup spicy gold. Big jars, little jars, topped by glass or tin. Their only value lay in all the goodies packed within. The garden yield, the orchid crop that grandma sealed with aching back and eyes alight with pride. How times have changed. Today, that mason jar still sits high in pride, a showpiece on a window ledge or in a treasured hutch, placed with care. The sun shines through to point out colors, amber, green, and blue, highlight perfect, a date long ago, and tiny innocent bubbles floating in a sea of glass, the old fruit jar. Thank you. Got another one. When I was out in Arizona, of course, we did our Wild West shows out there. We did a lot of visiting with children at preschools and you know, the Special Olympics was very heart-fulfilling with over 600 special needs children, most loving children I've ever seen in my life. But anyway, Jill had posted this. I was going to hopefully get her to read it, but she told me to read it. But anyway, special needs poem. They say that I have special needs. And while that's partly true, the needs that matter most to me are the same ones that you have too. I need to be accepted. I need friends that make me smile. I need a chance to learn and grow, and feeling valued all the while. Sure, I need some extra help, and some things I can't do, but I hope you'll see beyond all that. Inside, I'm just like you. That was wrote by April Vernon.
That's well said, whoever she is.
That's my contribution for tonight.
I'm gonna tell a quick story. Cannon brought this to my mind.
I'm gonna let you hold
We
this.
live in the country, you know.
What
We
generally
raised
I'm looking
everything
for
to
is just
the
something like that, you know.
There's not much communication.
So,
but on
you know, you can
occasion,
control
my
that
mom,
with this,
mother and
in and
daddy,
out.
some of our
But,
sisters
you know,
and kids
just
would
just
show
kind
up
of
on a Sunday.
the head and the
lunch.
shoulders and
My
something
mom
like
could
that.
fix
Something
a
like I've
meal
got
for 20 people.
Ken
They'd
in
never
right
have to
now.
go to the
Keep
store.
it
She had
roughly in there.
We had a meat locker.
May or may not
this
be
locker
where it's
that
supposed to
we
be
had
right
cans
now,
in.
but this thing
Maybe.
shows
I
Right.
used to tell this to my wife who I lived with for 40 years. I said, she could fix a meal for 20 people and never go to the store. We can't serve hot dogs without going to the store. Times have changed, you know. Canyon reminds me of that.
Does everybody know who I am?
No, what do you introduce yourself?
Somebody might see this film that don't know you. Go ahead.
I'm Joe Dan Boyd, and I'm going to read one poem today, but I'm going to talk about it. Oh, let me say before I start reading, you know, the James J. Metcalf that Ken talked about. You know, I fell in love with that guy's poetry many, many years ago. I was a young man, and he was syndicated in the newspaper. You know, it was like every, I'd say, 2 or 3 times a week there was a James J. Metcalf in the newspaper. If you got, you know, one that subscribed to his syndicate, and I looked forward to those. I really, really did like his poetry. And at some point, you know, he came out of the collection album and the book. I think it has a blue cover, or mine does. I don't know if it's the same one that you guys are talking about. But you know, it became for sale, and of course I bought it. Now there may be others. I never heard about any other books of his, but you know, I still have that book, and I'm really, really proud of it. I think of him as what did they say? Common man's. I think I've called him that before. The common man's poet. He speaks in a way that is meaningful. You know, Ken said he spoke to him. He spoke to me. So Ken and I have a lot in common in terms of our love of poetry, I guess. And you know, the special needs thing that Doc talked about in that poem that he read. You know, all of us have known some special needs kids, and maybe some special needs adults and this sort of thing. And I believe to a person, they've all the ones that I've known, maybe I've just been fortunate, you know, but they've all been really nice people, good folks, good kids, that sort of thing, and never seemed in any way less than someone who did not have special needs, or to me, you know. And I think in recent years, society has come to deal with their needs more efficiently and more mercifully in time, and I think that's really a good thing. Poems really speak to us in ways that it's hard to describe, I think. And every time I come to this meeting, you know, I'm impressed and inspired in some way or another by either a poem that somebody here has written or one they've read that has spoken to them. Some of you know that recently I was lucky enough to win second place again to Angela Wiley. I've never won this contest. In fact, Angela has won it 7 times, and they've only had it like 12 times, I think. It's the only
Going on there, Joe.
well, it sounds, you know, she's won it more than half of the times that they've had the contest. They even refer to and introduce her at the meeting as the Poet Laureate of Northeast Texas. Now, they've never given her that award. In fact, as far as I know, there is no such title. but she has won it so many times that they consider her the poet laureate of Northeast Texas. And she and I are in Sunday school class together. I've known her all of her life. I remember when she was, and she's kin to me, and she's a cousin. But I remember the first time I saw her, her father was at A&M with me as a freshman. He also, in fact, he was the first cousin once removed. Angela's the first cousin twice removed. So I've known her all of her life. She's much younger than I am, much more gifted as a poet, or at least in the area of free verse, which is her specialty. That doesn't mean that some of her poems doesn't sometimes rhyme. They do, but not always. In fact, usually they don't. But she has a lyrical lilt to everything she writes, and so I don't ever expect to beat her in a contest, but I'm always honored to come in second to her. And I'm going to read you my poem that came in second at the Northeast Texas Community College poetry contest. I'm going to read you first a few lines of introduction as to what the poem's all about. The Northeast Texas woman with a hoe during my upbringing was Aunt Minnie Fowler Tinney, who most of her adult life was spent a few hundred yards from Tinney Chapel Church. When I think of her today, I'm usually reminded of the famous painting and poem, each titled The Man with a Hoe. Both the painting and the poem, like Aunt Minnie, were products of the 19th century. Among the differences were Aunt Minnie's gender, the type of hoe she wielded so fast and furiously. Both Edwin Markham's poem and Jean-Francois Millet's painting paid tribute to a man with a short-handled hoe, which actually resembled what was called during my childhood in the Tinney Chapel community a grubbing hoe, then used primarily for clearing new ground of brush and small trees that interfered with crop production. Aunt Minnie's hoe was a long-handled version, which every farmer in my youth used frequently and for a very different purpose. Weeds, bad-acting grasses, get rid of them off the seed bed. These otherwise would tap and sap valuable nutrients and moisture. It was tedious, it was laborious to use a long-handled hoe, but highly essential work. And those who did it well, did it fast, or both, were highly praised, sometimes highly paid for the standards of that era. That era for me was the late 1930s, all of the 1940s, and the very early 1950s, a time that was dominated by the unusual hand-eye coordination of my Aunt Minnie, who lived and labored during a time when society itself honored and revered role models of her stripe. Those associated with the positive modeling of a hard day's work done well. She was the agricultural equivalent of Annie Oakley. Her long-handled hoe was the fastest and the most accurate of them all. Now, here is the actual poem.
When did you write this?
Which I call...
How long ago did you write this?
Say again?
The poem, when did you write the poem? This poem, when did you write it?
I didn't date it, but I
Recently or?
Pardon me?
Recently?
Oh, yeah, well, within the last 5 years.
Oh, okay.
You know, I tend to never stop working on a poem, you know. I mean, every time I read it, if I see something that needs to be done a little better. So you might say it's still an unfinished poem.
Okay.
But at some point, I'm willing to read it in public, you know, or send it in, you know, into a contest. No, I don't remember what I originally titled it, but I did change the title to Northeast Texas Woman with a Hoe, and to kind of relate it to that poem and that painting that was so famous in the 1800s. And also partly because I hated to use a hoe as a boy. On the farm, I had to, I was forced to use a hoe. And every boy that I knew hated to use a hoe. I would rather plow, a week than to use a hoe for a day. It was just such tedious work that I hated to do it. And every boy that I knew hated to do it too. We thought of it as women's work because women had the patience to do that, and a man just didn't have that most men didn't have that kind of patience that it took to do that well and accurately and fast, and that sort of thing. I think my original title, was Proud Many, proud, P-R-O-U-D. Right? So here's the poem. Proud Minnie, child of an earlier century, daughter of Frank Fowler, and feared of no man. Spinster for her first 3 decades, barefoot girl with chubby cheeks of tan. She viewed the world through narrowed brown eyes, topped with straight brown, tightly combed hair, framing a pleasant yet unsmiling countenance, free of any makeup, no hint of worldly air. At age 30, she said yes to my Uncle Doc Tenney, who was himself already into his 4th decade. For the rest of their lives, they tilled the soil, resting a living with mule, kelly plow, and hoe blade. She bore their children, cooked their meals, and as an equal opportunity wife, many toiled in fields of cotton, corn, and grain, where long-handled hoe technique defined her life. Minnie's hoe was always the sharpest. She filed it near to a straight razor's edge. Minnie's blade fell heavy, hard, and accurately within the crop row and along the seedbed ledge. The well-worn oak handle of Minnie's blade etched hard callus on the tissue of each hand. It was a badge of honor for her pioneer heritage, confirming mystical reverence for the land. She walked the rows with brisk precision, expertly thinning seedlings, eliminating grass and weed. Those who tried to match Minnie's furious pace were eventually put to shame and forced to concede. Years passed, decades came and went. Proud Minnie's pace began to slow. The day finally came when word passed that Aunt Minnie had put up the hoe. But her legacy is unmatched in Tennytown. Her fame still the toast of church and town hall. Sing this song loud and clear for proud Minnie Tenney, whose long-handled hoe blade was fastest of them all.
That deserves at least a number 2. That's at least a number 2. That good.
Yeah.
I was impressed with a lot of that. I'm just going to say this. I got to thinking while you were reading that. Does everybody here know Don Imus? You could never get him to read that poem. Never.
Who?
Don Imus. You know the name?
Oh, yes, on the radio, TV.
He mentioned the word hoe too many times for him. He got fired for that. He got fired for it.
I didn't listen to him regularly or anything. A few times.
Well, he never was on the channel I watched either, but I read some about him. I did see him a time or two. He's the ugliest guy I ever seen. Looked like he got a big old 10-gallon hat. He wears a big mustache.
We close traditionally with a paragraph from How to Read a Poem and Fall in Love with Poetry by Edward Hirsch. We're starting a new chapter, chapter 3, on page 46. Title of this chapter is A Hand, a Hook, and a Prayer. One could write an essay on the theme of hands in poetry. As, think of it, hands as poetry. So much of post-romantic lyric poetry in particular has been about connection and disconnection, almost about reaching out across a divide in an intimate gesture, sometimes desperate, sometimes futile, toward another person, a defined you. Or it is about the inability or refusal to make such a gesture, turning inward instead toward a greater interiority. Interiority. A deeper interiorization. I'm going to say it again. Interiorization. Those are two words we might learn to keep and talk about. Interior,
Something on the inside.
interiority and interiorization. I can hardly pronounce that second one.
Makes it look
The
like
individual poem, especially the lyric of solitude, situates itself in distinct relationship to an imagined reader. It presupposes an encounter with a real reader somewhere in an indistinct future. And it sets itself up at a particular angle to the universe of other people. I really do think this book is one of the best written books. Not just about poetry, just a really well written book.
That's two new words for me. I've never heard those words.
And the subject was a little bit deep, but I
A little
understood
bit
some,
what?
a little deep, some of it.
The publisher.
No, the words you read there.
Oh,
You gotta
well,
listen
yeah.
real close to get the meaning of some of them.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. What it does is it's a little like mystics. You know, are all of you familiar with especially Christian mystics? Like, you know, the Apostle Paul was a mystic, Christian mystic. Why was he a mystic? Because he was in direct communion with God. And that's the definition of a mystic, somebody that's in direct communication with God. You know, and I think to an extent, you know, if we take this paragraph a little further, in fact, I haven't read, you know, what comes after this first paragraph. It may be that he goes into something. It may be that we may be talking to God when we write a poem.
We're all mystics.
Huh?
We're all mystics. By that definition.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe. I know one time I was at a meeting when I was working at Farm Journal. I was at a meeting with another Farm Journal editor. It was such a large meeting, took two of us to cover you know, a lot of simultaneous sessions. And he and I had become really good friends, and we knew each other. We knew each other's association with church. We were both Methodists. We were both lay speakers. He later became a pastor, by the way. Still is. He's not with Farm Journal anymore, but he's still a pastor. And he bought me, and it was my birthday on the meeting that we were covering. My birthday happened. He knew when my birthday was. And he went down to the bookstore and bought me a birthday book present, you know. And he gave it to me at breakfast. And it was a book about Christian mystics. And I was going through it real quickly. It was one of those airplane reading books, you know, where each page has, you know, maybe 15 words on it and a picture. And you know, you read the book real fast. And each one of those Christian mystics, it would have a little quote about their painting. Most of them, you know, lived in a time before they had photography. And so I was thumbing through that, reading some of those out loud at breakfast. And I said to Charles, you know, I really appreciate this book. You know, I'm really a big fan of Christian mystics. You know, and he said, Joe, Dan, you are a mystic, just like Danny's. So I think you're right. We are all, I mean, if we pray, right? All of us pray. I mean, never has the person lived who hadn't had a need to pray. You know, I mean, There's just times in your life when you got to pray. There's, it's kind of like Abraham Lincoln said one time. He said, sometimes I go to my knees to the Almighty because I have nowhere else to go. So, but anyway, I think that very well may be true, that all of us are mystics, and maybe we don't think of ourselves as mystics, and maybe nobody else thinks of us as mystics, but we know ourselves well enough to know that. And as strange as it may seem, probably all of us have not only spoken to God in prayer, but we've probably heard God's voice in one way or another. Sometimes we may have heard the voice of God, and which some people would say makes us certifiably insane, whereas other people say, no, it just makes you a mystic.
Well, after the cross, that's what we were given, the privilege of going directly to the throne.
Yeah. Millions of people in this world don't believe we can go directly to it. Millions. Now, Martin Luther came along and settled some of that.
He did.
But there's still a lot of people who believe that. That you can never
Just
get
because
in.
they believe it, don't make it so.
Right, exactly.
What is happening this weekend?
Oh, yeah. Tenny Chapel Music Night is tomorrow night. Starts at 6:30. It'll end promptly at 8 because Doc has got I'm told, a prompter to tell anybody when they're going over.
George, to get in 3 songs is what I want to know.
Well, if you can get it in within the time before Doc puts up the
You have a large hook that you pull
sign. But I've already figured out a way I'm going to stay on time tomorrow for sure. And so I'm not worried about going over tomorrow night. But anyway, that's going to be, in addition to Doc and Chris. Where's Chris, by the way?
Where is Chris?
His mother's birthday is today, so her brother-in-law took her out.
So will he be there tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. So Doc and Chris will have an act, and let's see, Doc and I will start off, and this is your wrong. So the other acts are Gordon Schultz, who is a guitar player and a harmonica player extraordinaire, and is a highly skilled vocalist. And also we'll have James Moore, who I've asked him to sing. My favorite song that James sings is called Today. And frankly, I had never heard this song before I heard James Moore sing it. Had you heard that song before? You heard it before?
I don't, which song?
Today.
Today, I don't remember here.
He has just the perfect voice for that song. And so I've asked him to sing it tomorrow. Well, we'll see if he does. And then Jordan will close, is the original Tennis Chapel troubadour. His picture is in the ad in this week's Winnsboro paper for the ad for the music night. And then we're going to have someone who's never been on the stage with us before on Tennis Chapel, Rosemarie Brown, who has never missed, I don't think, one of the music nights program. She shows up, and I didn't even know she was a performer. And she was a close friend of